SUV-sized drones in New Jersey. Dozens of reports seen near military bases, armories, civilian areas, over people's houses, properties owned by President-elect Trump. The FBI says they've been investigating it for a month.
Is today the day that we get some answers about those mysterious UFO drones that have been flying over New Jersey for the better part of a month now? Are there even any answers to be had? New Jersey mayors will meet today with officials from the New Jersey Office of Homeland Security and the state police to discuss the drone sightings that have led to fear and wild speculation. Meanwhile, a New Jersey congressman says he saw dozens of drones coming from the Jersey coast. Chris Smith says he was there when as many as 55 drones were sighted following a Coast Guard vessel in the waters off New Jersey. After seeing them with his own eye, the congressman says, quote, "We have to treat this with the presumption of a hostile threat." The White House says President Biden has been briefed on the matter, and the White House is in contact with the Office of Homeland Security and the FBI. A White House spokesperson says they have determined these drones are not being operated by foreign entities. Meanwhile, a shocking admission from the FBI during congressional testimony. A top FBI official told members of the committee the investigation into the drone activity remains active, and at this time, they do not have an answer as to who is responsible. A congressman from Texas called that madness. Pressed on the matter, Robert Wheeler, assistant director of the Critical Incident Response Group for the FBI, seemed to contradict what officials have been saying, that there is no threat. Well, Wheeler said they don't believe that is the case. He said, quote, "We just don't know, and that's the concerning part of it." Are the drones perhaps military in nature? If they are not coming from the Picatinny Arsenal. Picatinny serves as a military research center. Many of the first sightings were near the Morris County base, but the base commander issued a statement Tuesday saying the drones are not the result of any Picatinny Arsenal related activities. What have you seen? Do you have photos? Do you have video? You can upload it to our free mobile app. We will keep you updated with expanded coverage on air and online at NJ1015.com.
Month, but many, like my next guests, say the response has been tepid. What could they be, and how is this so hard to figure out? Joining us now is New Jersey State Senator John Bramnick and former defense and intel official who investigated UFOs for the federal government, Luis Elizondo. Thank you for having both of you here. I appreciate it. Senator, let me ask you, what do you make of how your requests to satisfy people's curiosity have been met by other officials?
Not very well. Either the government doesn't know anything, or the government is in a position where it's an embarrassment to the people of the state of New Jersey, because people already come to the table with distrust of government. This adds to distrust. And I'm deeply concerned that people are going to come up with conspiracy theories. You see them on the internet all the time. So this doubled down, and it double downs on the people who make up theories and also don't trust government. So it has a double whammy on government.
Have they told you anything, Senator, about what to say or what to think?
The only thing I heard is Governor Murphy did a press conference while he was signing another bill, and he indicated he wasn't concerned with the safety of residents. But the residents I represent are deeply concerned that they need a lot more information than a blanket statement that it's still safe out there. That's simply not enough. We're going to have a briefing tomorrow in Trenton, and I'm looking forward to hearing what they have to say.
Well, you got a platform here to tell the country what you're finding out and what you're not finding out whenever you want it. Mr. Elizondo, it's good to have you again. What's your guess on this? I mean, look, the good news is you see a lot of navigation lights on these things. You see red and greens on a lot of these, which, as you know, are familiar lighting that people put on drones over a certain size. What's your guess as to why there's so many over Jersey all of a sudden?
Well, Chris, surprisingly enough, it's not just over Jersey. Recently, over a few weeks ago, we had a very similar issue over Langley Air Force Base, one of our most sensitive military installations. And frankly, if you look back the last 4 or 5 years, there was actually a very similar occurrence back in Colorado, where for weeks, local and state law enforcement officials were chasing these things in the skies, almost doing a racetrack pattern, and no one seemed to know what the heck was going on. Actually, this is one of the very reasons why I decided to testify before Congress a few weeks ago, because quite frankly, we don't really have control of our U.S. airspace. We don't have awareness of what are in our skies.
Do you believe that the FBI has been looking for a month and doesn't have any answer about what these are when there's so many?
Well, I've worked with the FBI in the past, and they tend to be very, very competent when they're doing investigations. I do believe they have some answers. I don't think they have all the answers yet. What further makes this more complicated, you have an issue where these things are being seen over civilian airspace, so you have jurisdictional issues, right? You have, from a federal perspective, you have FBI leading the law enforcement investigation, but you also have the Department of Defense. You have folks like the U.S. Air Force and Office of Special Investigations. You have DHS and even the FAA. And so all these federal agencies, forget about even the state and local agencies, are trying to work together and try to deconflict what's in the skies. And unfortunately, they just don't seem to have a common operating picture right now of exactly what we're dealing with.
You think they're wrong about the size? Because, you know, it's not easy to find drones of any significant size on the commercial market.
Yeah, so here's the problem, Chris. Great point. We know that commercial drones tend to be a typical size, and they use a certain amount of power, if you will, and have a certain amount of loiter time, a certain amount of range. It typically can be anywhere between 15, maybe 20 minutes if you're lucky. And then you have to have line of sight in order to control these things. If you talk about anything bigger than that, you're really talking about a state-sponsored capability. This isn't a hobbyist. This isn't a drone that someone buys, let's say, from Radio Shack or buys from Amazon. This is something far more complex that can be flown beyond line of sight, i.e. over the horizon, and has a loiter capability in some cases of several hours. And if you're talking about an SUV size or larger potentially drone, this is a problem. Look, the U.S. Navy has been reporting these types of drones, in some cases the size of cars and even bigger, for years now. And this is exactly emphasizing the point why we need to take this topic seriously.